Hello and welcome, I'm your Kudmaki. Unnecessary game features that are actually pretty important. It's interesting how games have so many things, and it's interesting how for different people, different mechanics might be an absolute must-have or absolutely completely ignorable. Honestly, that's one of the best things about the industry, is how you can have a game kind of like Battlefield that sells millions of copies, and at the same time you've got a game kind of like Unpacking, super chill, super relaxing, also sells tons of copies. So yep, whatever game you want to make, chances are there's an audience for it, meaning that whatever mechanics you want to implement, some players will love it and some players don't really care for it. Like I wrote here, so games have lots of features, systems, and mechanics. There's a lot of work that goes into making a fully fledged game, but there's also some things that are not strictly 100% necessary. However, some players will miss them deeply if you don't include them. If you do want your game to stand out, which nowadays, given how much competition there is definitely a very important thing, then perhaps you should implement some of these supposedly unnecessary features. So yep, this is potentially a very great bonus. Since it's so hard to stand out nowadays, if you add some features that a handful of players care about, even if a lot of other players don't really care, that player base won't care about it and they will probably prefer your game just because it has that one thing. By the way, Unity sponsored this video to let you know about their New Year sale on the Unity Asset Store. If there's anything you need in order to get started on your 2026 projects, if so, then check out everything on sale. Most of the top assets are all discounted. For example, I always recommend Text Animator. It's a really excellent tool for easily animating all your text. Feel is another great one that I always highly recommend. It's a great tool to make your games feel awesome. If you're thinking of some projects in 2026 that involve pathfinding, if so, I highly recommend the pathfinding project. This supports literally thousands of units pathfinding insanely fast. The Odin Inspector is a classic one that actually just got a very big upgrade. They now have a really nice visual design, making it even easier to make super custom tools. If you want gorgeous light maps, then I've heard great things about Bakery. Or if you're planning to make some 2D games, if so, the all-in-one sprite shader, this one is absolutely excellent. Then you've got UMotion Pro, which is super useful, especially for editing humanoid animations directly inside Unity. Adding a nice toon shader, kind of like this one, really helps make your game stand out. And my own Codemonkey Toolkit asset is also on sale. This is a collection of 40 tools and elements to help you make games better and faster. And recently, it even won Best Development Tool in the Unity Awards. So yep, you've got lots of awesome stuff on sale on the New Year sale, so if there's anything you need for your 2026 projects, then definitely check it out. The sale is running until early January, so check it out with a link in the description. So there's a great thread on Reddit where lots of people talked about their personally unnecessary but really necessary features. And here are some. So shift clicking to move items between inventories. You've got games like Diablo that have tons and tons of items, and for some people, just manually moving those items across the inventory, that is probably enough. But for more hardcore players, chances are they really want to make the inventory management as easily as possible because they're going to be playing the game for hundreds of hours. So yep, this is likely completely unnecessary for casual players and absolutely necessary for more hardcore players. Lots of games have inventories and they could certainly benefit from this. Also add inventory auto sort. So yep, if you search for all kinds of looter shooters on Steam, there's tons and tons of these games. And again, the casual audience, they probably don't really care about too much about these kinds of features. For a casual player, really just a button to automatically pick up everything, that is probably going to be enough. But for the more hardcore players, they probably want something to easily transfer between inventories. They probably want something to easily compare between two different items. They probably want something to be able to easily see what items are on what chests, where they are stored. So even on something as simple as an inventory, you can have the most basic mechanic that will be suitable for the general audience of players. And then you can have a bunch more very specific mechanics that are very specific to very hardcore players. And again, technically that is an unnecessary feature. Technically, the game is functional if you just have a normal inventory and you just drag and drop. Technically, that is functional, but you will certainly appeal to those hardcore players quite a bit more if you add those extra features. Then pause and skip cutscenes. So this one that also technically is unnecessary. Technically, you can't just make a cutscene that you can't pause, you can't skip. But for a lot of players, and myself included, I would say this is definitely a must-have nowadays. So personally, I do find this a must-have. I'm only scared to press buttons during a cutscene because I never want to skip them, but I never know if the game has implemented a pause button or not. I remember when I was playing Death Stranding, I remember when I was relatively close to the end, or at least I thought that I was relatively close to the end. And at the time, I really needed to use the bathroom, but I thought I was pretty much close to the end. I thought I was just like 5 minutes away, and I didn't want to touch anything because I didn't want to skip the cutscene. So I figured, okay, I'll just wait, I'll just hold on, and I'll just watch the cutscene. And that cutscene ended up being something like 45 minutes long. So the cutscenes in this game are really awesome. But yeah, if you have a cutscene like that, definitely do make sure you add a pause button. And make sure you add it in a way that basically doesn't scare the player. Because there are some games where if you just touch literally anything, it will skip the cutscene. I hate that. I never want to skip cutscenes, so because of that, I'm basically afraid to touch anything when a cutscene is playing. But thankfully nowadays that is actually not as common. Nowadays games do tend to have a skip option, and usually it's basically click and hold. So thankfully that problem is something that used to be a big problem back in the day, but nowadays not so much. Nowadays whenever you touch some kind of button, you can see the little rotating thing that is counting down the time. And if you hold down for enough time, basically skips the cutscene. If not, then usually it does nothing. but if just a press trigger the pause, that would be great. And also allow for skipping any intro cinematics or studio videos. Every once in a while there's like a AAA game that has a ton of studios involved, a ton of publishers, and before you can play the game you have to watch something like 1 minute worth of logos. That always sucks, so in your own games definitely make sure you don't do that. First of all, you are an indie developer, so you really shouldn't be bothering your players with icons and logos that they probably don't recognize. But if you do add that, then make sure you also add something to be able to skip it. Then simultaneous keyboard and gamepad input. This is a very nice one. This is definitely one that would be considered very much a great quality of life improvement. So basically allow your player to easily switch between one and the other flawlessly based on the last touch input time. And for me, I made sure to add this in my own game, The Guardians. And for my game, I wanted to make sure that it was playable with both keyboard or gamepad. And thankfully nowadays, when using Unity's input system, it is actually very easy to tell what was the last input touched. And you can see, okay, the player last touched a keyboard, so let's switch the active input to keyboard. Or the player last touched some kind of gamepad, so let's switch that to the active one. Then really just need to listen to an event in order to modify all of the glyphs on screen, show either the gamepad or the keyboard glyphs. So thankfully nowadays, if you use the new input system, that is actually relatively easy, and you should definitely implement this because again, it's one feature that sounds pretty small, but I would say it's actually really nice. Or at least for me, when I was testing the game, that was insanely nice. Because a lot of the times for a quick playtest, I was just playtesting over here on my keyboard, but whenever I want to do a bit of a longer playtest, I like doing it on my gamepad. And if I had to go into the options in order to modify the input system, that would be pretty messed up. So really just being able to touch one thing, touch the other, and everything swaps flawlessly, that was a really great bonus. And of course, the players themselves, they also enjoy that. They also enjoy being able to use whatever input device they want. So technically not a necessary feature, but I would say it's one that thankfully doesn't really require too much work, and I would say it's definitely worth the benefit. Another feature is moving HUD elements. So this is a very interesting one, especially for one very specific type of game. So this is definitely a rare one, but for some hardcore players, it's a must-have. Lots of MMOs especially have this because those hardcore players that play thousands of hours, they really want this. And yeah, whenever you see some screenshots from something like EVE Online, it always sounds insane to just a casual player. But for a hardcore player, having UI like this and being able to modify the UI in any way they want, that is usually super useful. And those hardcore players, they will probably only play your game for, let's say, 1,000 hours, only if they can actually do this. If they can't, if the UI is very much fixed, then chances are they won't play your game for that long. Same thing for World of Warcraft, so a casual player might have a UI just like this, so pretty much the standard default one. And then a more hardcore player, one that probably goes to heroics and goes on raids every single weekend, they will probably have something like this with all of these custom things, which by the way, that is actually yet another bonus on top of this bonus. So the number one thing is being able to have all these UI windows that you can actually move them around. And the second thing, which I'm pretty sure is something that World of Warcraft does have, is that you can actually use scripting in order to create your own UI elements. So I'm pretty sure a bunch of these were like for raid specific things. They show like the stage of the boss, something like that. It's been a very long time since I've played World of Warcraft, but I'm pretty sure it was like that. Basically it has a scripting language where you can build your own UI, which again, for a casual player that is completely useless, completely unnecessary. But for hardcore players, if you want players in your game to be able to play your game for let's say 1,000 hours, then this kind of thing, this is definitely a must-have. And for a fun one, so pet the dog or pet the cat, that's definitely the definition of unnecessary, but really not really. So personally, I find this a must-have, it's always fun. Any game that has cats or dogs, or even cute small alien animals, then it has to have a pet action. It might sound silly, but there's a giant Twitter account all about this. And if there's this account, Can You Pet the Dog, it has 500,000 followers. So even though this seems like a small unnecessary thing, here it is, at least 500,000 people that do care about this one feature. So you've got all kinds of dogs, and yep, some of them you can pet, some of them you cannot pet. And it's actually one of those that chances are it won't really take you too much effort. It's really just a basic animation, just a basic interaction. So if you already have interactions, if you already have animals in your game, then yeah, adding this kind of thing will probably be a very simple thing. And at least for some people, they will probably see that as a nice bonus. Another interesting one, so third-person shooter that allows left or right shoulders. So yeah, this is an interesting one, which I think actually should be more common than it actually is. I think very few games allow this, but it's another thing that technically it's not necessarily that difficult. So more games really should have this. So this can be a fun addition, but even more than that, it can actually be a mechanically useful feature, since some games do have some strange blind spots. If you've got a third-person shooter game, kind of like Division, something where you are constantly crouching behind cover, if so, then yeah, if you have it fixed to just looking, let's say on the right side, under the right shoulder, if so, then if the player is on the right side of some kind of cover, then works fine, but if they're on the left side, it's going to look very wonky. So some games, they do automatically modify the shoulder, but very few games actually let you pretty much choose what is the default shoulder. Some players prefer on the right side, some players prefer on the left side, and usually in terms of code, it should be a very simple slider, just apply an offset on this direction or this direction. So in technical terms, it shouldn't be that difficult to add. So again, another thing, technically not super necessary, but some players will definitely enjoy They will definitely value being able to have that kind of customization, just change from one side to the next. So these are great things, and if possible, you should implement them to make as many players as happy as possible. But at the same time, they are not free. All of these have a time cost, so it's your job as a developer to figure out which features to prioritize given your very limited resource, which is time. And if that is one crucial thing, so all of these are awesome, so if you can, definitely add all of these, but again, they are going to have some cost, there's some time cost. All of these, even the ones that I say were very simple, like for example the keyboard and gamepad input, if you are using the input system, that is relatively simple, so I would definitely recommend that you do. But again, even though it is simple, it is still going to take you at least 1 to 2 days to implement that. So personally, I think it is worth it, but always keep that in mind. All of these things, all of these are nice to haves, but it's up to you as a developer to analyze your own game, try to figure out which one of these to prioritize. Always remember how you have limited resources, whether it be money or time, so you can't do everything. So always try to analyze and see which are the things that the players will most likely like, and then make some kind of priority list and really just go down one by one as many as you can. Like I wrote here, so I always find it funny how players are so different. Things that are must-have for one player are completely useless to another player. If possible, you should definitely implement all of these tiny things, but like I mentioned, you have limited time, so pick and choose which are must-haves for most players in your game. So yeah, these kinds of things are always quite fun, and if you can, yep, definitely do implement this. For example, petting the animals. Usually that should be a relatively simple thing, and I definitely encourage you to add it. And if you want to learn how to make games, then check out my free complete courses. If you want to learn the super valuable C# language itself, then check out my free C# course. It covers everything from the language from beginner to advanced. Or if you prefer learning how to make a game itself, you can watch my free Kitchen Chaos course. That one will teach you how to make a really awesome 3D game. Or alternatively, I just recently released my free Lunar Lander 2D course, so this is a great beginner 2D course. Alternatively, for multiplayer, you can check out my free course on making a simple multiplayer game. Or if you're more advanced, then check out my Dots course. This is definitely very advanced stuff, but if you are an intermediate user, then Dots is an insanely powerful tool that I really think you should know. So yep, check out all of those with a link in the description. Alright, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.